Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. First order of business, Ramadan Kareem. To those who are observing Ramadan, thank you for spending your precious energy with us. Hello and welcome, Rodrigo. You are live on Shape the World with Yemi. I'm your host, Yemi Babington-Ashaye. Shape the World is an open conversation format for people who make time for both local and global issues. We know that there's always something keeping you busy, but whatever's keeping you busy, you take time away from your desk and you say, you know what, I'm going to participate in this open conversation. So thank you for doing that again. As you know, the audience does more than participate. You actually drive the conversation. So if you're not asking questions, if you're not making comments, this is going to be a very dull exchange. Although that's going to be a challenge because we have a very exciting and interesting guest today joining us. Please give us a proper Shake the World welcome to our guest, Sinan Güler. Welcome, Sinan.
Yemi, thank you for having me.
So Sinan is a basketballer, and he is much more than that. And he will step up to the Shape the World challenge today. So I want to salute that. That means you ask questions and Sinan Bey would answer them. So what I would love us to do is get ready. All right, so I'm going to ask Sinan Bey to maybe tell us a little bit about where he is right now and maybe what he's looking forward to in this conversation. And that's just to give you time to start posting questions. Are we ready?
Perfect.
Okay, so if you want to post a question, you can use the Q&A button in the middle of the screen. Please place a question there. Any question is welcome. If you want to chat, use the chat button. Okay? And we love shout outs. So wherever you're in, if you want to give us a shout out, that's totally fine. We'll give you a shout out too. In the chat, for example, you can tell us where you're dialing in from. We'd love to hear that. What city are you in? Is that okay? All right, so I'm coming to the audience in a second. Sinan Bey, maybe, how are you doing today? Where are you?
Yemi, first of all, thank you. And I'm quite ecstatic that I'm here with you and having an opportunity to chat. I'm in Istanbul, Turkey right now. We have been moving from one apartment to another in this different times of life, and we had a couple stuff that's not settled in the house, but at the same time we're almost settled and our new adventure in this new home. And what I'm really excited about to be here is that we've known each other for about 8 or 9 years right now with what you have started as a part of World Economic Forum and Global Shapers movement. And I'm happy to be a person who is standing by you to push the agenda further with what you're doing with United People Global, and hope to share my experience and share my thoughts and share what excites me in this, let's say, value that we're creating and the steps that we're taking together.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much, Sinan Bey. Thank you so much. All right, welcome. We've had a couple more people join us. This is Shape the World. Please post the comments in the feed. Our guest is Sinan Güler. He's a basketballer and he will share more with you if you ask him questions. So let's get into the right habit. Can you please post in the feed where you are dialing in from? Is that a fair request? Just post in the feed. What city are you dialing in from? Oh, that was fast. Valencia, Spain. Thank you, Rodrigo. All right, who else? Tell us what city you're dialing in from. Just post in the chat. Now, Sinan Bey, did you always know that you were going to play basketball?
Yeah, for sure. But I'm lucky though, because my father, when I was born in 1983, my father was an active basketball player. Excellent. And my mother retired from basketball and became a full-time mom when basically she got married and had her first child, my brother, my older brother. Okay. So I was born on the basketball court. And I would say that I was quite a troublemaker for my mom, especially. And That's a quick outlet to actually divert that trouble and energy and the hyperactivity to. So the basketball court itself, the four corners of it is very special to me, and the basketball itself is always has been very precious to me.
All right, thank you very much. Now, if you just join in, Sinan Bey, of course, we're all living under pandemic rules, so he has not his optimal connection. So from time to time, you see his video might blip, but I think we're capturing what you're saying, so that's fine. If we're not capturing, I'll just repeat the question. Now, there's something you said. You said your mom retired after the first child. What did mom retire from?
Oh, she was also playing basketball before
Wow.
they got married with my father.
Amazing.
So she stopped playing basketball right before in that note. And she, to be honest, she never really enjoyed talking about basketball, but she always supported us by watching the games and being there for us in many opportunities.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much. So you said you were literally born on a basketball court, I guess virtually. Yeah. You said the forecourt is important to you. Yes. And you said you had all this, I guess, restless youthful energy, which was then diverted, thankfully, into sport. So has it been, because you're still a baller, so has it been what you expected it to be? Because you also you've just retired from being captain of the national team. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you've literally gone to the summit, right? You've played for some of the biggest clubs. You played for Galatasaray. You played for Fener. So you've literally been to the summit, I would say, of what one could aspire to in terms of being a professional player.
We can say that. Especially in European side, I've seen what the summit looks like. I've come close to it, and I know that there are many legends that took basketball and took their energy and took their success to another level. But to be honest, as a Turkish basketball player, I have been privileged enough to be part of national team and did great things with them. In 2010, we were the silver medalist in World Championship in Turkey. End up playing against a very talented USA team in the finals. And I've been fortunate enough to be on a team with Galatasaray to win Euro Cup, which is like the second level cup in basketball in Europe. So in one side, I would say that, I've done a lot of things a resume of a basketball, but at the same time, I was fortunate enough to be a part of basketball for this throughout my whole life. And for the past 15 years, basically, I've been doing what I love as a profession.
Okay, thank you. So would you describe it as you said you've been doing what you love. So do you think of it as a job, or how do you think of it?
There are certainly there are times that it feels like a job. When your feet is dragging from the house, that you don't want to leave the house, or it's too early of a flight that you have to go to some part of the world. But at the same time, when you get on the court, you forget all about that. You forget about all the sacrifices that you have to make, and you get on the court and play and create energy and create that unity that the team has. But at the same time, we're all human. It's never going to the main luck that we have is as athletes, as team players, is that we have people around us to keep the positive feedback and positive energy around.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, our audience is making themselves present and known. Faisal, thank you for joining us from Lahore. Mr. Salami in Dagenham, thank you very much for joining us. Mehmet Bey in Istanbul, Debo in Montreal, Maishri in Johannesburg. Thank you very much. I can't see this name very clearly. Irim Nu in Adana. Oh, that's nice. I've been to Adana. Very nice. And of course, Rodrigo in Valencia. Thank you so much for the roll call. You can use the Q&A button and post a question. All right, so Sinan Bey, our guest, he's a basketballer, but he's much more. If you want to tease it out, you need to ask him questions. Are you ready? I want to see some questions in the Q&A. And I can see Mayshri has started.
I think yes.
Mayshri has started. Mustafa has just joined. Excellent. Everybody, please post some questions. I'll be choosing the questions. So don't worry. If I haven't asked your question, I'm coming to it. Okay, now, Sinan Bey, has basketball, I guess, it's been your life and it's still your life. So in what ways does basketball, I guess, determine things you do off the court?
Oh, interesting question. Well, okay, a lot of things happens on the court that you need to keep everything together in a sense of you have to be ready as a performance. You're polished in many ways. That's one part of it. On the other side of things, the off-court side, you know, resting is quite important. Mentally being ready and mentally keeping up with what's going on in your sport, what's going on in your game, in your season, is quite important as far as the similar to the physical readiness. Those are the things that you should be careful about in order to perform in a higher level. On the other side of things, you know, we travel a lot, we stay away from our families a lot, and we have to make quite the sacrifice. And I might say, even though this pandemic and COVID-19 and what it brought us into the world as many negative things, I haven't been home in the last 20 years as much as now.
Yeah.
And this has been a perfect opportunity to be.
Oh, we're going to make you repeat that.
My baby. And
we're going to make you repeat that.
Okay.
You said this has been a perfect opportunity to be, and then we lost you. To
be with my family.
Okay.
Because in 20 years, I had to make a lot of sacrifices in order to continue my career, in order to grow my career. There has been times where I was taking maybe like at most 7 days of a break.
Wow.
In between seasons with the national team and other obligations.
Oh my gosh.
And now, you know, we've been home for 7 weeks, and you know, it's been quite exhilarating to see what was going on in the house and what I could do for my family in other than playing sports and, you know, bringing bread basically.
Amazing. All right. Thank you to the audience. The questions are catching fire. Mwah! I love it. So we're going to be going to the questions now, and we'll keep them coming, please. Let's take Mayshri's question, because Mayshri posted first. So sending you greetings, Mayshri. Mayshri asks, sports is unifying, or is a unifying, I guess, concept. How do you plan to use this or merge this to help disadvantaged youth? I know that's a question that you can answer, Sinan Bey.
Oh, I would enjoy answering that too. You know, as Mayshri said, sports is quite unifying. When you get on the court and you start playing with other people, when you're doing any other sport, it's connecting people in a level that language cannot even work fully. Yeah. Because when you, if you look at it from my side, when we were talking about basketball, when you have a basketball in your hand, that does not need any translation.
Yes.
It pass the ball to somebody immediately.
Yes.
And what we've been doing for the past 9 years, and we were hoping to celebrate our 10th year in Istanbul this year, is exactly what Mayshri is asking. We are running summer camps as family in Istanbul, Turkey. And in these summer camps, we create opportunities for kids from locations that has less opportunities of basketball.
Okay.
And so far, we've run 9 summer camps. Wow. In these 9 summer camps, we had people who comes and pays a normal fee of a summer camp for the kids.
Yes.
And at least 30% of the kids who join are coming without, and they're coming from cities and countries that has really limited opportunities of basketball.
Okay. Can you just please say that 30% again? Just because there was and just say it clean. So you said just start from at least 30%. Say the whole thing.
Okay, at least 30% of that joins without paying a fee to the camp, or let's say, transportation, nothing, and they come from the countries or cities that has smaller opportunities of basketball. So that's what we're trying to create. We've been doing that for 9 years, and we had over 900 players total. 400 of them come from less opportunistic cities, plus so far 35 cities of Turkey has been involved with this program. Amazing. And we had with paid players, we had players from France and scholarship players, and Spain.
Okay.
And for the scholarship players, we had from Bosnia, Azerbaijan, and we're hoping to expand that to other regions also.
Amazing. So Mayshri, I think you got a solid answer to your question. She says, or he says, wow, thank you. South Africa would love to come on board.
Please do. Let's talk about it.
All right, you got a promise right there. So get in touch with us. We can connect you to Sinan Bey. So thank you for that, Mayshri. So, I mean, obviously, you probably see this every day, so you probably don't have to think about it. But what are some of the advantages of doing these camps? What impact does it have on these young people? What are some of what? I mean, I know it's so obvious to you because you were born on the court, but how does it help them?
The success of it, or the main impact of it, does not come for the court itself.
Okay.
Is that clear, or should I repeat that?
I got that. The main impact does not come from the court itself. Yes.
Yes. We have kids from many regions of Turkey who gets on a plane, comes to Istanbul for the first time. They get to a university campus that, with their limited opportunities, maybe they will not see ever.
Yeah.
And let's say that the first day that join the camp, and they start meeting people from all over Turkey.
Yeah.
And they get on the court together, and they realize, again, what I said to you, like they hold a basketball and there's no translation needed. Somebody passes them the ball and they need to catch it and play with it. And throughout the day and throughout the week, they realize I'm sharing my story and experience with them. In their brothers sharing their experience with everybody day in, day out. So we start impact within the program itself, not only with the education that we're trying to teach, or the fundamentals that we're trying to teach from the camps, but at the same time, we're sharing our experience to impact the kids in different ways. The best example that I can give, and we have professional players who are still playing in different levels, women and men, but at the same time, right now, from our first camp, coming from Hakkari, Turkey, which is like the southeast border with Syria, and probably the most problematic cities in Turkey as far as the whole last 30 years has been going. This kid leaving our camps in 2011 promised his friends in the going back that they will graduate from college. They never had planned to leave home for college before. And now he's a basketball referee. So like, and the stories are growing like this. 2 years ago, we had a girl from Samsun. Now she's in university here in Istanbul, studying, I believe, communications. And she was the most valuable player in our camps, which we started gifting 2 years ago them a chance to go to a basketball. The MVP of the camp.
Okay.
We gifted her to go to a basketball camp in the United States.
Wow.
Which she became also an MVP of that. And if we planned all together in a better way, lowered the barriers of language, maybe
Yes.
she could have gone to school in the United States.
Yeah.
And we're hoping to create that environment for our kids also.
Amazing. So you put a URL in the chat. Can you just
Yes.
say that out loud? Tell people what that URL is and repeat it.
The URL is the www.gulerlegacy.com. That's our website for our sports organization side, and it's a social entrepreneurship, and we're trying to figure out a way to build a sustainable business which could support what we're doing in the summer camps as far as inviting kids from less opportunistic way. And I'm reading a lot of opportunities coming in from Africa that might create a great effect. And we are, I can tell you this, we're already in plans of
Oh, you have to repeat that. It blipped there. It says we're already in plans.
Yes.
Say the whole thing.
We're already in plans on doing something in Africa. We're continuing the talks and hoping to create something. Of course, this pandemic will affect everything that we're doing for this summer, but hopefully we will do something for the next summer.
Inshallah, absolutely. And please let us also help. So we can say, as UPG, United People Global, if you're trying to go to Africa, hey, come on, let's help. Let's do this together. Let's make it happen. We have some people in the feed who also want to join in. Let's make it happen. Okay, beautiful, beautiful stuff. If you haven't been there, check out www.gulerlegacy.com. You can reach Sinan Bey and the team through that URL. But if you're part of the UPG community, you can also reach him through us. So you're probably inside our forum. Just let us know and then we can make it happen. Okay, so thank you so much for that. Now, let's see, questions. For anyone who's joining, you can post questions in the feed and we'll take your questions. So obviously, that's a big part of your life. Let's take this question. Now, I've told you any question is fair game. And for those who are here, Sinan Bey has agreed to even take personal questions. We like to do that towards the end of the show, okay? So we can save the personal questions for later. But most questions are fair game. The one place we don't want to go is politics. Okay, so we don't want to go there. Obviously, I don't know all the politics of everywhere. So I need your support. Please don't wrap a political question in a way that looks like it's not political and then ask it, because I wouldn't know. Is that okay? So please, let's not do that. But please, all other questions are fair game. All right, Olukoya Salami, I know him as Mr. Salami, has asked a question, and I don't think it's political, so let's just check it out. Let's see. So he's asking, does religious belief have a place in sport in Turkey? Thank you for that, sir.
In my opinion, of course, Turkey's a lot of, let's say, engines are working with religion.
Yes.
We are 90, 95, 98% Muslim country. And, you know, as far as how religion affects many, many things, it's a part of our sports also. To me, I'm not a religious person per se, but also this is, I would like to say this about that part. Religion is an individual journey. Yeah. Even though it's been commoditized for everybody to join and everybody can share their ideas, I think that it's an individual journey with their own Allah or God. So in my opinion, every athlete will have their own belief system and their own idea of it. And I think that it's very, very much involvement with the sports.
Great, thank you so much. So welcome, we've had 2 more people join us. Hi, Dolakbo, thank you so much for joining us. We give shout outs here, so you can always say where you're dialing in from in the chat. But we love questions. Your questions drive this conversation. Welcome, Madam Elizabeth Gachuri. Welcome so much. Again, you can post in the chat kind of where you're dialing in from. Questions in the Q&A panel, and we'll take them. All right, Mamadou has a question. Did you ever try to be drafted into the NBA league? And what difficulties did you face if that was the case?
Um, I've I've studied in United States. I was in Montana when I graduated from college, and I was trying to look for opportunities in NBA, of course, but I was playing for a smaller league. So let's say that if NBA scouts and NBA teams has a radar on players, I was like, if the radar is this big, I was around here somewhere. So I could not be seen by the radar that they had. But after I became professional in Turkey, there were a couple opportunities that I could choose to become an NBA player. And the 1 year that I really wanted to try out, play in the summer league and not drafted, but to be maybe signed as a free agent, that was the summer that was the lockout. So there was no summer league and there was no league until, January, be a part of it. And after that year, to be honest, I never looked into playing in the NBA, and I focused on what I could do in my career in Europe.
All right, fantastic. But you're a big fan of the NBA?
I try to watch, but not so much.
No time.
Yeah.
Are you watching the Netflix special Last Dance?
That's an obvious yes. I have been a Michael Jordan fan, and to be honest, I'm really enjoying to rewatch a story with a different perspective than I watched as a kid. So I really enjoy it.
Awesome, thank you. So he's a Jordan fan. Now this lockdown. One of the questions we have from Morenike is, lockdown is depriving people from exciting moments with sports right now. Now, do you think that's going to last? Is virtual sporting going to become the norm? Or do you think that there's going to be a mix of virtual and physical? Or are we going to get back to mainly physical? What are some of your thoughts on the future of the way we enjoy sports?
As a professional player, of course, I'm hoping to have my job back sometime soon. So no, I don't believe that, anything related to sports. I think it's too big of an industry to stop completely. But at the same time, if we, I believe that every attendee here, everyone in the audience is aware of what Maslow's hierarchies is mentioning. And I think that sports is not on the base of our life right now. We're a little bit upper in the pyramid in order to introduce back to the community and back to a normal life. But, at this point, esports has been, of course, a great opportunity for people to connect. Football leagues and NBA especially try different aspects to introduce their audience with tournaments. But I believe that, let's say by the end of the summer, with a controlled recovery to a normal life, we will see sports coming back in Europe.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you for the awesome questions. We have more people join in. I can't see the name of who joined now, but please just say where you're dialing in from, what city. This is Shape the World. We rely on your comments and questions. So Mehmet Bey has asked a lovely question. He's asking, after this pandemic, which ideas have changed in your life? But before we go there, Mehmet Bey, if you permit me, I almost want to ask you, does sports prepare you in any way to handle moments like these kind of adverse moments where there is ambiguity, things are not clear? Does sports prepare you in some way to do that?
I can share from great experience that when I was a young kid, I did not like losing. I don't enjoy losing now, I can tell you that, but I was reacting completely in a different way. If you look at it right now, we're against a tough opponent where we don't know what it's doing in general. Okay, we can say what it's doing, but at the same time, we don't know how it's evolving to fight against us as human beings.
Yeah.
And I think that it's in our role as individuals and to control, can figure out and slow down the effects of what this is creating. Yes, so for that, sports helping me a lot to learn more about what's going on. And if again, if we can give example from being a team player, as a part of a big team of humanity, my role is to control what I can do and take my own precautions or my family's precautions to make this a safer place for all of us to enjoy and live.
Excellent. So that sense of solidarity, sports almost prepares you to think like that.
Yes.
That sense of responsibility for your role, sports kind of helps you prepare to take responsibility.
Yes.
Okay, so let's do Mehmet-based question. And if you want us to see your questions, please put them in the Q&A. There's a button in the middle of the screen. But Mehmet's question is actually in the chat, but I found it, so we're good. So what ideas have changed in your life? Or what are you looking at slightly differently because of this pandemic?
Again, from the part that we begin to talk, I'm enjoying and I'm fortunate enough to spend time with my family.
Okay.
If we look at things, it would be middle of playoffs right now for us, and I might be in hotel preparing for a game or whatnot. Instead of that, I have an opportunity to talk to you, and at the same time, I have an opportunity to spend time with my family in a more impactful way, let's say. Other than that, what I've learned is in the solidarity and in the in the closing to our nest, I used to this lifestyle. The moving so much and traveling so much. You get carried away with what you have at home and what kind of values you can create from home. To be honest, without the moving from one house to another, we've been learning how to not eat from outside sources, cook our own food and create creative meals together with the family.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much. All right. We have more questions. V, thank you, Armando. I think Armando still, since we're in that space, let's take Armando's question. Armando wants to know, what effect do you think the lockdown is having and the lack of availability of space? Sorry, let me just make sure I capture that well. Sports creates opportunities for many at-risk youth. What effect does this lockdown and the lack of availability of these opportunities have on these youth? Thank you, Armando. Very deep question. What do you think, Sinan?
The main argument that we can have here is that the risks that youth have with what Armando's mentioning, I think that in a normal life, yes, those are the risks that they can meet up with. But at the same time, being in lockdown, I think the main risk that the kids have right now is not moving enough and not exercising enough. And that's a tough burden on all of us, not only to our families or the youth. But at the same time, I think that the challenge that the parents are facing right now is to engage with their kids in different ways and keep them engaged in a community that's condensed into the four walls of a family home. But at the same time, I think people are automatically staying away from the risky situations and risky environments with the lockdown that we have right now.
All right, great. Thank you so much. And welcome to Debo, who's joined us from Montreal in Canada. Awesome. Okay, now please keep the questions coming in. I think we did Armando's. If you have any questions, use the Q&A button in the middle, and then you can use the chat for shout outs. Any comments or shout outs, please put them in the chat. Dolakbo, you've been quiet. I haven't seen anything from you other than Lagos. So please post a question or a comment. And if you know anybody who wants to join in, ask them to come in. Okay, now, Sinan Bey, I want us to shift
Yes.
gears and talk about one of your other passions outside basketball. I understand you're an angel investor. Yes, people, you heard me correctly.
That is correct.
I didn't get that wrong. I was also stunned to learn you're an angel investor. Is that normal? Is that normal? And I mean, I mean, yeah, is that normal? That a
Um,
basketballer or a big athlete is an angel investor?
I think that it's quite a norm now in the American side, in the American continent, where athletes are creating a lot of value with investing into startups. In Turkey, this is not the case. I think that I'm definitely the most active angel investor as an athlete, but at the same time, I think that there are maybe 4 or 5 of us from the athletic community that's moving to the startup ecosystem.
Okay, wow, that is still tiny. Now, would you describe this as a passion?
Um, for sure, in many ways, but at the same time, similar to what I've been doing with Güler Legacy and similar to what you and I kind of trying to do, we are sharing our experience. We're sharing the values that we learned throughout these years with different people. I think that's the passion that I have.
Yes.
And angel investing and talking to startups and talking to young entrepreneurs is let's say, a tool for that.
Okay. Now, please help us connect the dots. What are you doing as an angel investor? So, I mean, from what we understand, this is kind of like investing in startups. Just please clarify that, what you're doing. And how did this happen to you? So this wasn't a case of your mom and your dad who are both basketball players, or were, I mean, why you? Like, did you get struck by lightning? You know, how did this happen?
No, maybe it happened. My parents didn't tell me in a time that I don't remember. Maybe it happened. But let's put it this way. I've been, with Güler Legacy being a social enterprise, I've started working as a startup, and I started learning about startups when I invested money in a sneaker shop, actually, in Istanbul.
Nice. Okay.
And
nice.
Trying to move that stage into an online market, as an investor and as an active part of the team, I learned a lot of things in the process.
Okay.
But the stuff that I learned the most happened when we ended up going out for fundraising, and I start watching my team giving a speech and giving a presentation to a fundraising opportunity to an angel investing network. And
Okay.
I realized from the stage, looking at the people watching us, the investors, I realized in smaller examples, let's say that I invested 10 in the company that I was in.
Okay, wait. And we may need you to repeat that. You said I realized, and then it froze. So just start again with I realized.
I realized that I invested in a company of, let's say, 10.
Okay.
And I'm just putting value in only one company.
Yes.
And from what I learned after, these people that I was watching are investing once into tens of different companies.
Okay.
And I realized instead of spending 10 in one location, I could spend 1 in 10 different locations and create 10 different values.
Yes. Yes.
And then I dove in deep into the rabbit hole, researching, learning about what it is, and learning that this can actually be a financial asset for me in the future.
True. True.
I'm 7 years into the future from where I started then, and I have 24 startups that I invested in mostly in Turkey, but at the same time, there is one in Switzerland, there's 2 in United States, and I'm trying to make that thing also in a sustainable and global way.
Amazing. 24. I didn't expect that. I would have thought, since you have a full-time job as a basketballer, if you told me you were doing 3 or 5, for me, you still qualify as an angel investor. But 24 is massive. So that means you've definitely listened to your fair share of pitches. You've met a lot of startup entrepreneurs.
For sure.
Since we have an angel investor with us, please feel free to post any questions. But one question I would ask is from the experiences you've had so far, is there any tip, maybe 1 or 2 tips that you would like to give a young startup entrepreneur? Something that you think they can do better, or a common mistake that you spot?
I think that what I've been hearing on repeat is finding an idea is easy. We can make workshops on it, and how we can realize how everybody can interpret a different version of an idea to turn it into a startup. The main 2 things that I've seen that becomes problem as a startup in the growth scene is the team building, which is the toughest part of it.
Okay. And
the second thing is figuring out what the main problem is and how you're solving that problem.
Okay.
So idea or knowing the problem is one thing, but figuring out the details of that problem is a different thing. So I think the difference of that is very important to understand.
All right, I love it. Nuggets, thank you. Now, please, if there are any questions for the investor that we're looking at, yes, he's still a basketballer, but to be fair, with 24 investments, let's call him an investor. Please, let's ask any questions for the investor. Now, Mamadou, if you're still there, I know Mamadou is an entrepreneur. So you've got an investor in front of you. If you have any questions for him, please feel free to ask before we switch tack. So let me take a look at some new questions have come in. Wow, you guys have been active. All right, so let's take the one for Dolakpo. Thank you, Dolakpo. You really responded. I can see even 2 questions from you. Dolakpo wants to say, he's saying, from your comments, are you averse to investing in emerging markets? And if yes, he's already assuming. If yes, why?
Let's put it this way. First of all, I am living in an emerging market, so yes, I am averse to that. But the second of all, we will get more into it as we speak, but with my experience and with the situation that I'm in as an athlete, I'm trying to create a platform that would focus on sports startups specifically for the near future. What I would like to do is create opportunities in, first of all, Turkish market, but at the same time, globally, startups to find opportunities of investment, growth, and partnership here in Turkey and neighboring regions. And I will be focusing on specifically sports startups for let's say future.
Okay, you'll be focused specifically on sports startups?
Sports startups for the foreseeable future.
Okay. All right, fantastic. Dolakpo, you're on fire, because Dolakpo is not just asking questions, he's asking questions that are actually relevant to what we're talking about. So yes. Dolakpo wants to know, what new opportunities do you think will emerge in the sporting space? And I guess he's asking about entrepreneurship opportunities. Where do you see opportunity? Everyone's taking notes now.
If I look at Turkish sports industry itself, fan engagement is a very important side of it, and at the same time, this relates a lot to European or different regions also. From what I've seen so far, for competitive sports, we will see as far as what will happen, because right now everybody's trying to figure out what's going on with competitive sports, and they're trying to make plans for it, and the bigger organizations like federations and leagues are trying to figure that out. On our side as athletes, we have to figure out what's going to happen in the future. We are expecting a lot of decline in financial gains for athletes, financial gains for teams, and financial gains for federations. So we have to be ready for that kind of adversity. On the other side, I think that the opportunities itself will pop out as soon as the sports itself starts.
All right, thank you so much. You've also touched on another one of Dolakwa's questions about what do you think will happen to earnings for athletes? Although he said post-pandemic, well, we're all hoping post-pandemic things will get better.
Yes, it
Yes,
has to
okay.
get better.
Maybe this is a good time to take Mustafa's question. Mustafa's asking, what is opportunity cost and what does it mean for you?
Well, I don't know if I can give the dictionary explanation of it, but I think that, opportunity cost is basically what a person or what an organization is spending in time, money, or value to create an opportunity and to create some kind of, let's say, a rocket ship
Yes.
to reach to a new level. That's how I see it in my own case.
Yes.
In my examples, let's say that I've been an athlete and I'm more focused on the business side of things. If I want to be done with being an active player and be a part of what's going to happen in the future, if I'm you're looking very good, what will happen is going to be I'm going to be on the office side of things with creating value for the fans or for the organization or for the players. I don't see myself being on the court as a coach to create that value and create that opportunity. That's why I'm moving into angel investing. That's why I'm trying to create financial opportunities for me in the future where I can do a lot of different things. But at the same time, I think that, the best opportunity that I have and that I could create for others is my experience.
Yes.
For athletes and for entrepreneurs. And I think that there are different aspects to look at it in that way.
All right, thank you very much. So if you have any questions, please use the Q&A button so that we can see it. Now, there is a question from Aikut. Aikut wants to know, how would the relationship between coaches and players, how is it affected? Is it becoming softer or harder when people are playing matches under uncertainty? I did my best with that question. I hope I did it justice, because I can't tell if Aikut wants to know about now or post the pandemic. But in any case, why don't we frame it as, you talked about the organized sport and the future not being certain.
Mm-hmm.
So Aikut has talked about, playing under uncertainty. So let's imagine we get back to playing. There's still a bit of that uncertainty hanging around. Do you think this is going to affect relationships, for example, between coaches and players, or between teams and players, or not really?
To be honest, before this whole pandemic, expanded in Europe and in Turkey, we actually played around a very uncertain time when we were playing without fans, and we were playing under certain restrictions of, like, let's say that you cannot greet the opponent team in a very gentleman way. But at the same time, when the jump ball happens and you start playing, you're in contact with other players.
Yes.
So the uncertainty dissolves in itself when the game itself starts. And I believe that what the federations and what organizations are trying to do to make the competitiveness as alive as possible is to get to that point where there are no uncertainties from the time that you leave your house or your hotel until you come to on the court and to play. And in my opinion, the unspoken law of the game, unspoken genes of the game, cannot take away the connection and the physical requirements of the game itself. So I don't think there will be any change of how coaches interact with their players, or vice versa.
Fantastic. Thank you. Now, Abidemi has a question which he puts in the chat. So let's pull it out. Thank you. He wants to know, how do you balance being an entrepreneur and a basketballer? Because it sounds like you're deep in both.
I think that, many things happen within that area where, we're traveling a lot and we're mobile a lot. And There are certain things that we can do. And I know that we're going to get to it where you can watch TV shows, movies, you can read books. And in certain times, I'm doing all that. But at the same time, I'm quite excited about and quite intrigued about other things that I can do and other values that I can create. Now, if I'm not home and I'm not with my family, and that's my biggest obligation, to be constantly on when I'm with my I look around to create value among me. I want to create a community of basketball people who thinks the same way. And at the same time, I want to create a community and a platform in the entrepreneurship system where everything happens. I can put my values in, I can put my thoughts in, and everyone else is moving the engine with me. I think that's the main part. That what I'm trying to do is I want to bring in qualified people. I want to bring in who brings in the value to help, let's say, that my ideas or my vision to become reality in many ways.
All right, beautiful. So you're really thinking of it in a very comprehensive way. And
I try to.
yes, I guess that helps you achieve balance. Very philosophical, very philosophical, seriously. But we'll come to that. Now, Mamadou's asked the question, which I think is connected. So before we go anywhere else, let's take it. Now, everybody else, we're going to shift soon to personal questions. So please start getting ready to ask him nice personal questions. You can ask about his favorite food, his favorite color, things like this, or any other life questions. But let's keep it nice. All right, Mamadou, a lot of athletes file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy a few years after retiring from professional sport. Now, do you think this is an issue of a lack of financial literacy? And do you see this same issue in Turkey? This is a question for Mamadou. Great question, Mamadou. I know you didn't drink coffee,
Question.
but you're still on fire.
You know, I think that's a common problem for any athletic environment. I would think that it's part is the financial literacy, and I'm trying to make logical financial decisions in my life. I don't think I'm financially literate fully. Yeah. The main thing that I try to do is I try to bring in people who can help me become financially safe. On the other side, I believe that, you know, the main problem with financial independence is spending less than what you earn.
Yeah, true.
And I think that, you know, as an athlete, you earn a certain amount of money, you create a certain lifestyle, and you spend for that lifestyle. And when everything ends and you don't have the same income, if you try to keep spending the same amount, then you're going to have a problem. Yeah. I think that that's that doesn't need any financial literacy. That's just quite common sense. And it's every athlete is trying to build up some kind of inactive ways to make money. And I think that those stuff should be thought in different ways in a more simpler way. And, you know, hopefully we can be a part of that and create that type of environment and content soon.
All right, amazing. Thank you. All right, people. I'm switching on the tap for personal questions. If you would like to ask him a personal question, please post it using the Q&A button. Sinan has said he'll take your questions. I'm choosing the questions still, so if it doesn't get asked, it's my fault. But I'm trusting you to be nice. So he's happy to get personal. Anything you want to ask, please put it in the Q&A. Now, Sinan, if it's fair to say, you think a lot. If you listen to the answers you've given to the different questions, even you now saying that, you know, it's not about financial literacy, that's kind of logical. You're clearly thinking a lot. And, you know, frankly, some people don't even think about it that way. They almost need to be explained that. But if I can ask, is philosophy something that's big for you? Is that something you spend time on?
You know, I've been thinking about this for a while now, and, you know, philosophy has been a big guidance for me for the past 5 years. And if I go back and send a message to a, let's say, high school me,
Yes.
high school student me, I would laugh at it if I read that message from future somebody sends me something about philosophy. But at the same time, I believe that what philosophy is not the need to answer questions in the mind.
Yes.
Is actually showing each human, and we have everybody from different parts of the planet right now, each human has a similar path with different obstacles and different adversities and different positive feedback in their lives.
Yes.
And if we read about what Marcus Aurelius did 2,000 years ago, we see a lot of similar pathways in the life of his, and the life of that I'm trying to live right now. Okay, I'm not a Roman Empire, but the adversities that he saw are similar to my experience as an athlete. And I think that philosophy is a very important aspect that could affect all of our lives.
I love it. I almost want to make you unpack a bit more. So it's good you let everyone know Marcus Aurelius was the former Roman emperor. And I mean, I guess he was also trying to spend less than he was earning. But what are some of the other parallels that you're seeing in terms of some of the challenges you're dealing with your life, or we are dealing with our lives?
Okay, the family of philosophy that I'm very involved in and very bought into is Stoicism. And in many ways, when you hear about Stoicism and when you hear about Stoics, you can have the idea of having no emotions, showing no emotions, and being strong as a rock in many ways. But at the same time, I think that the main point of view that Stoics trying to portray is knowing the difference between what a person can control and what person cannot control, and controlling our reaction to those different things. Because let's say we can take pandemic as this example. There are a lot of things, probably 90% of things that is happening to us with the pandemic, and with how governments are trying to help us through lockdowns and everything, is that's out of our control as individuals, as human beings. But let's say what's in my control in this tough time. One, I'm again fortunate enough to spend time with my family. Two, I can control what kind of environment I'm in to keep myself and my family healthy. Three, what I've been neglecting as far as learning, hearing, or sharing in these times, before these times, what I've been neglecting and what I can share. And I think that this is a great opportunity for me to share my thoughts and how I've been doing things in the past years. So I think that, what we can control, knowing what we can control and knowing what we don't control, is a great separation of reality and understanding of reality. And I believe that I learned very much from philosophy through that.
Sorry, I mean, did anybody else hear that? Sorry, am I alone? I mean, I think we need to call him a philosopher as well, if that's fair. Because if we're calling him a basketballer, an investor, I mean, Sinan Bey, you actually have a school of thought that you fully understand, that you follow. You actually apply this in your everyday.
I try at least.
Yes. I mean, this is pretty deep. To be fair and to be completely transparent, I didn't expect that level of, I guess, depth. So thank you for sharing. And so audience, please, if you have any questions for Sinan, please post them. Mamadou, I really think we need to accuse him of taking coffee, man. He's on fire now. Thank you, Mamadou. So Mamadou wants to know, because we're doing some personal questions. how do you get your focus prior to a game? What's your routine? I'm not sure I can tell you everything, Mamadou, because you know he's still playing, so I'm not sure how much he wants to share. But
Oh no,
Sinambe, whatever you want to share, how do you get your focus prior to a game?
I think life of an athlete is combination of routines throughout his day or her day. And my routine usually, let's say 2-3 hours before the game routine starts with, I listen to a certain playlist and my Güler Legacy family helping me grow that playlist in many ways. I talk to my wife and my mother right before I enter the gym.
Wow.
I'm usually the first person out to the gym just to warm up individually for a certain time, to shoot around and to feel what the court is bringing to us and what kind of atmosphere it has. And after that, there are certain physical things that I have to do with our physiotherapist and other people to get ready for the game, and we come out on the court. Let's say if there are 50 to 60 individual items on my routine from prior to leaving the house or prior to leave the hotel until tip off, the final thing I do usually is saying hello to my father, who usually is in the stands with us watching the game. And that's how the game starts for me.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And audience, you have been amazing with your questions. Just listening to Sinan's answers, the quality is coming through you. So thank you. Mamadou, you asked a question that Sinambe has already answered, but he's forcing me to mention your question because he just talked about his routine. And right there at the end of his routine, he says hello to dad. Now, Mamadou wants to know if you're watching Last Dance. And as anyone who's watching Last Dance knows, Michael Jordan had a special relationship with his dad. So sounds like
Yes.
if daddy's at the end of your routine as well, before every game, and he's in the stand normally, sounds like you have a special relationship with your dad.
Well, first of all, I think that both of us being athletes definitely creates a special bond between us. And honest, I've been pro for years now, and me, my father, and my brother, who was an active player for about 20 years, we really don't talk basketball.
Okay.
But at the same time, when we look at each other, especially like when I'm playing in the game and I take a look at my father, that gives me a focus and perspective that I don't have in myself throughout the game. And usually I end up looking at him because either I'm doing something wrong or I need to fix something in the game that we're playing as a team. So if I end up looking at him, it's kind of like, I don't know if the audience, any of them plays Assassin's Creed, but in the game, you push a button and you start seeing the game from above. And it kind of helps me in that way. And I'm very fortunate to do that.
I love it, man. I'm going to be watching this video again because all the references, I want to watch it and catch it. So thank you.
Perfect.
We got Assassin's Creed in there. Love it. Now let's share the love. We just talked about dad. Let's share the love because we have some moms in the audience. Thank you. I'm talking about both Elizabeth and Morenike. So thank you for being with us. Now you said you call your mom and your wife as part of your routine before the game. So let's talk about mom. Sounds like you have a special relationship with mom too.
Yeah, every boy is a mama's boy. First of all, that's what I believe. But at the same time, I think that my mom and dad has been separated for about 20 years almost now. But I try to keep close relationship with both of them. And again, for a boy, a relationship with mother is different in many ways. And she has been quite the supporter to both of us, as to my brother and myself. And again, in families like ourselves, there are certain things that happens automatically without even requirement of speaking. And I'm very fortunate to have that. I haven't seen my mom in a game in a while. She doesn't come to games, but I know that she's watching most of the time. And I know that there are a lot of different stories in what happened in her not watching the games, but I know
There are a lot
I
of
can feel the
what?
support.
We missed that. You said there are a lot
A lot
of.
of a lot of stories
Okay.
in my youth that taught me to become a better player, but at the same time, created the effect where my mom watches the game from away, not from the field itself.
Yes. All right, brilliant. Thank you. Now, of course, we know you have a special relationship with your wife. So I think
Yes.
we should give you a chance to do a shout out. I guess you call your wife as part of your routine. I guess it's just part of the routine, or is there something there?
Yeah, well, it is quite a routine part of the routine for ourselves, because usually, especially at home games, I'm leaving the house and about 5 minutes later I'm calling her again, and just to remind ourselves that we love each other and we care for each other and be ready for the game. And she gives her last words before we talk again after the game.
Beautiful. Now, I want to prepare you, Sinan. I'm going to come to you for your last words. So since you
Okay.
mentioned that, so before we close, you're going to have last words. So you can kind of start getting ready.
Okay.
But I think we can take the two questions that are waiting from Aykut and Mamadou before we come back. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. This is Shape the World. We're getting ready to wind down. I hope you've loved the conversation. You've definitely driven the conversation. And let's start with Mamadou's question. And then we'll go to Aykut. So Mamadou wants to know, what does success mean to you?
Mamadou, I would like you to answer this in the chat also for me, because I will answer. But I think that my answer will be quite different than what general public kind of thinks. I have been a reader of John Wooden, a legendary basketball coach from UCLA. And I think that there are a lot of school of thoughts that he teaches to everyone, not only athletes, not only coaches. I think like his lessons are lifelong lessons. And there was in many things that he shares that success is not monetary. Success is not a trophy itself, but success is being focused on what I'm doing. And
You have
that
to
I've
say that
done
again,
everything in my own.
please. He
Okay.
focuses on success is you said he focuses on success is?
For me, and from what I heard from him, success itself is if I put my head into the bed at night and think about the day that I've spent, if I've done everything in the way that I'm supposed to, in a way that I can make myself and people around myself better, then I'm successful. And there are days that I've done it in a perfect way, and there are days that I've done it in less perfect way, let's say. But at the same time, if I look at my past and my career, I've used the opportunities that given to me in the best way possible to reach to the successes, the more, let's say, physical successes that the athletes try to reach, and I've done most of those.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. And Mamadou, if you're still around, he said you can, I think he wanted you to answer your question yourself as well in the chat if you can. But if not, you can always post it after the video. Aykut has a question. And I think it could be also seen in the lens of your response to the definition of success. So Aykut wants to know, is it possible to behave as an entrepreneur during the game under your coach's shape rules? Now, I don't know what that means, but I guess under the rules of the coach, because I guess the coach has some rules or a plan. And do you have any memories where you took a risk, I guess, and won against the coach's direction or against the coach's rules or plan? That's an interesting entrepreneurial kind of question. So Aykut, thank you for that question. Tough one. What do you think, Sinan?
First of all, as an athlete, there are ways that you can act as an entrepreneur, and there are ways that you're acting more of a a, let's say, a regular employee in many ways. But I think that, you know, the main role of the athlete in a team is completing the necessary requirements of a team to go to a successful moment. From the second part of your question, have I done anything against the rule or directions of the coach? Most likely there has been many times, because the coach usually gives directions in a way that the players should read the game, because the coach is giving, you will not know how to read what the defense is giving to you also. But at the same time, coaches seeing certain stuff the way that players cannot. So I think that all the players have the talent to combine the both and find the correct solution. There has been one occasion in my career that I remember vividly. In 2009, I was playing in Mediterranean Games in Pescara, and we were playing against Italy, and we won the bronze medal against them.
Yes.
In the second or third overtime, our coach drew some play, and I ended up not running through the play because I read something else and find a very highlighty moment in my career. And that's the story that we talk with that coach every time we meet.
Oh, you
Anyway,
have to repeat that. You said we talk with that coach every time we meet, and then we lost you.
Every time we meet, we kind of remember that moment and how it affected us in that game, because it was a moment where we're trying to find our best scorer, but he was covered in different ways, and I created an opportunity that ended up helping us win the game.
All right, you asked the question, you got the answer. This is Shape the World. I hope you love that. So I could actually wanted to know if you had a winning moment, and you actually have one. So beautiful. Now, can I just clarify? Is it that you understood the coach's instructions differently, or that you understood them, but you interpreted that moment in a different way? You saw a different thing.
I think it's definitely the interpretation moment.
I need you to please repeat that. Please. Sorry, just start your answer from scratch.
That's okay. For me, I think that the interpretation of the moment is very important. Basketball is a very fluid game, and you need to react with what all the opportunities and all the environment giving you. And that was a moment where I reacted in a different way, because that was what I was seeing.
All right, beautiful. Thank you. And Mamadou, what a lovely audience we have. He actually answered your question. So Mamadou is giving you his definition for success.
Yes.
So thank you, Mamadou. For everyone else, Mamadou is saying, and for the video record, for me, success is multifaceted. Yet, while the ingredients can be similar, drive, talent, focus, hardship, ambition, the recipe is usually extremely personal. And for him, it comes down to family values and motto. Thank you, Mamadou. All right, Sinan Bey, I think I've bought you time. Are you ready to share your closing thoughts? What would you like to leave us with?
Let's end it this way. I think that, you know, this has been a great opportunity for me to chat with you. First of all, again, we've been doing a lot of great things together and in separate ways to share our knowledge, our experience with the people. And I believe that from what we've talked for the past hour or so, the main, let's say, the idea that we have is sharing is beautiful. Sharing is very valuable, and sharing without looking at the monetary success or monetary values that comes after it is going to bring a lot of, let's say, clarity and serenity for us. That's one thing that I would like to share. And on the other side, I would like to share that I am fortunate to be a curious person more than anything, as an athlete, as an entrepreneur, as an investor. And I'm hoping that my curiosity will bring many, many great opportunities in the future.
Amen. Inshallah and amen. Thank you so much, Sinan Bey. I'd like to salute your courage. joining Shape the World conversation, taking questions that you don't know from people you don't know, and then answering with such sincerity. So thank you so much. It's been a
Thank you for
beautiful
having me.
conversation. Now, thank you. An audience, Shape the World audience, you're better than an audience. You've driven a powerful conversation. You've made Sinan share things that we didn't know. So we know now he's a basketballer, he's an investor, he's also an entrepreneur, and he's a philosopher. And as I think you can string this all together, he's clearly someone who's both curious and quite intellectual. I think you can hear that he reads a lot. And he doesn't just read to get through the pages. He reads to understand, he applies it. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Nambi. Such wonderful time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
All right, wishing you a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.